Hello, this is Napoleon. Welcome back again to the second session on this workshop. Today we are going to see mass spectrometry. The principle of this mass spectrometry is this: ionization and fragmentation is the two major principle in the mass spectrometry. The organic compound that you are going to analyze is ionized and fragmented. During the ionization, there are different possibilities are there. The molecule can be ionized to a unipositive charge or dipositive charge, or it may be ionized to a negative charge, or it may be neutral unionized. This much fragments are possible, and the molecule is getting fragmented, and the fragments will also be get ionized into a positive charge or a negative charge or unionized. These are the possibilities when an organic compound enters into this ionization chamber, right? That's why, but the mass spectra will detect are designed in such a way to detect only the unipositive ion, either the whole molecule or the fragments with unipositive ion alone detector. All other things are not detected by the mass spectra, right? Similarly, the fragmentation, we not necessarily have to fragment the molecule. We have to fragment the molecule in order to get some structural information, or otherwise if the molecule is not fragmented, that will be very easy for us to find out the molecular weight. The main aim of recording a mass spectra is to find out its molecular weight. That is the main aim, but there is also other reasons to record mass spectra. We can also get some useful information about the structure, and that's why I said it is depending on the molecule. If you need a fragmentation or you don't need a fragmentation, there are many methods available. Based on that you can choose, right? The fragments are subjected to magnetic field and electric field. This is another important point in mass spectra. Otherwise, the whole principle of mass spectra lies here. The fragments are subjected to electric and magnetic field. They are subjected to electric field to accelerate the fragments, and the magnetic field plays very, very important role where the fragments are deflected. When the ionized fragments are travel in a straight line by the influence of electric field, but when they travel in the straight line with high speed around to the kinetic energy of about 70 electron volt, it is traveling. When it enters the magnetic field, the traveling fragments are supposed to deflect in the magnetic field because they are charged. This deflection, if they are overcharged, they will be over deflected. If they are not charged, they will not deflect in the magnetic field, and therefore it is set up in such a way that only unipositive ion will enter the detector. The magnetic field is designed in such a way that only unipositive ions will enter the detector. All other will be eliminated from this magnetic field entering the recorder, right? The next point, the extent of deflection is based on mass. This is the key principle. Deflected, but the extent of deflection. If the mass is heavy, the deflection will not be much, and therefore it will reach the deflector in one place. If the mass is little low, it can deflect more, and therefore it will reach the detector in a different place. And depending upon the place at which the fragment collide with the detector, an electric signal is produced there, and based on that the mass of the fragment is calculated are found by the detector, are assessed by the detector. From there we get the graph, right? This is the simple principle about mass spectrometry. There are several mass spectrometer depending on the molecule, depending on the need that I have already mentioned. But all the mass spectrometer work on this principle, ionization and fragmentation. The thing that is different for different mass spectrometer is this: how they are ionizing and how they are making the fragmentation, the methodology. It is different for a different mass spectrometer, right? With this introduction, let us see. This is a schematic diagram of a mass spectrometry where the sample enters here. It is getting ionized by an electron impact. This is a usual method. There are several methods to ionize, and therefore we usually explain using an electron impact. This is by heating this coil, an electron beam will be flowing in this direction, and the compound is flowing in this direction. When it encounters this electron beam, the molecule is getting ionized. As I said earlier, it may be unipositive or dipositive or negative, or some of the molecules may not be ionized. All those things happen here. Ionized and also fragmented, and these small fragments are coming here. When it comes here, these are all electric plates which are used to, they are negatively charged, which are used to accelerate these protons, accelerate these ions. When these ions are accelerated, they will move with a velocity, with a kinetic energy of 70 electron volt, where here there is a magnetic field. When the fragments enter the magnetic field, they are getting deflected. You can see this, for example, this fragment has a heavier mass, because therefore it is not deflecting much. It reaches the detector at this place. If you take this fragment, it is light in weight compared to this, and therefore it deflected more and reaches the detector in this spot. And by the spot at which it reaches the detector, the mass of the fragment is calculated or assessed, right? This is how a mass spectra work, but actual different mass spectrometry will be different. But I will give some of the video for tandem mass spectra or something. I will give some videos that are available in the YouTube, right? The next, what is the aim? The aim is only to find the molecular weight of the organic compound. This is the major purpose of recording an organic spectra. From that, we can also get some information about molecular formula. To get that, we have studied in the last session how to calculate molecular formula. For calculation of molecular formula, we need empirical formula and molecular weight, right? Empirical formula calculation we do with the help of element analyzer, but for calculation of molecular formula, we need molecular weight along with empirical formula. Therefore, to get that molecular weight, we need to record the mass spectra. And also it gives some useful information on the structure based on the fragmentation pattern. We will also observe the fragmentation pattern. Using that fragmentation pattern, we can study some structural feature of molecules, and what type of compound use that. You can make a guess out of that. For that also the mass spectra is used, right? There are different ionization techniques, there are different fragmentation techniques in different mass spectra. Why we need the different kinds? Because you have to choose. Suppose you are planning for an organic molecule or synthesizing an organic molecule, you want to record a mass spectra, then you must choose the technique wisely depending on the nature of the molecule, because some molecule may be decomposing at the boiling point, all those things. Because here the ionization energy plays important role. The molecules are ionized. Before ionization, all the compound is evaporated, then only it is ionized, and therefore for evaporation it has to be heated to high temperature. And when your molecule is heated to high temperature, suppose your molecule cannot withstand that temperature, or it will decompose and then it will lose its nature, means then there is no use in choosing that electron impact, and therefore you must be very careful in choosing that which technique you need and what analysis you want to make. Therefore choose the nature of molecule. Depending on the nature of molecule, you have to choose the technique, right? For example, the electron impact for small molecules or atoms is ideal. For other bigger molecules, the electron impact method, what we have seen in the schematic diagram, will not be useful. Therefore, depending upon the property and nature of molecule, we need to have different ionization method, and therefore different mass spectrometer. That is the only reason, and you have to study the different types of techniques, and which technique suits for your molecule, that you have to decide, right? This is how. These are all some of the methods usually used. Apart from electron impact, chemical ionizations are there. Electrospray ionization, which is called in short ESI, and fast ordered bombardment, MALDI, or there are several methods. In MALDI, there are several MALDIs there. You have to choose depending upon your molecule, right? And you also consider this nowadays. If you are, you can also think of this GCMS. Some of you are, if you are working on natural product, you want to separate the molecules, separate the compounds from the cluster, then you have to use GC or gas chromatography or liquid chromatography. Nowadays, liquid chromatography and gas chromatography are coupled with mass spectra. The separation and mass spectra of each fragment, each component that is separated from the chromatography technique, recorded simultaneously. Nowadays, people use GCMS and LCMS for. It is also depending upon the field. If you are synthesizing a pure single molecule, you no need to go for GC and MS, or you can straight away take mass spectra or choose the technique what you want. But if you are unknown about the purity of the compound, or you doubt there is a possibility of a mixture of compounds, then you have to go for this GC and MS, where separation and recording of mass spectra take place simultaneously, right? We need not go in detail about that. You can, if you want to, you can study by yourself, right? And this is the reason why we need a different technique. Suppose if your molecule is less stable, what you will do? You cannot subject it to an electron impact, which is heavier, and then the molecule will be fragmented into pieces, and keeping those pieces of fragments, you will get no information. The molecule has to be fragmented, but to some extent, not into small pieces or pieces of atoms. With that pieces of atoms, we get no information. The molecule has to be ionized, and unfragmented molecule is also very important to get the molecular ion peak, and therefore you need a different technique if electron impact is not suitable for your molecule. Less stable molecule, there are some molecule which decompose on boiling. In that case, electron impact may not work, right? Similarly, compound, there are chemical ionization method. If your compound is not interacting with the chemicals that is used in chemical ionization, then that method will not be useful. Then you have to go for another method. Therefore, this is why you need different techniques. There are Therefore, each technique has its own advantage and disadvantage. It is selective. Each technique is selective. A group of compounds can be studied, ionized with the methods that you have to choose, right? Next, that's all about the theory part. There are many instrumentation are there. You can study by yourself in detail, which are available in many. Now let us go into straight away into the structural elucidation of the compound. That is the main aim of this workshop, and therefore we concentrate on that. The mass spectrum, right? We are going to study that. How much useful the mass spectrum to study the molecule, right? What is a mass spectrum? A mass spectrum is it is the line graph. It is a line graph that arrive out of that ionization, fragmentation, and reduction, right? As I said earlier, the fragments enter the detector in a different region, and depending upon the region, the mass is calculated, and this is, and the number of ions. For example, in one place there are more number of ions, then the intensity will increase. Here, this type of fragment enters that particular place in the detector is high, and therefore it is high. The number of molecules entering this place, right? So, for example, 71, it is very low. Number of fragments that entering that particular point in the detector is low. Therefore, the number of ions that reaches the detector is shown as the intensity, that we call it as relative abundance. We make a relative abundance and then calculate, because we are not taking the natural abundance, we take the relative abundance. What is called a relative abundance? The peak is adjusted. All these peaks are adjusted with respect to a tallest peak in the spectrum. This is the tallest peak, and therefore even if it is in an original here, it will be up to 100%. Here it is 100%. The tallest peak is taken as 100%. It is taken as 100% because it is not actually 100%, because the molecule is fragmented and there are several fragments you are getting, and therefore this is not possible to be 100%. But we are considering this peak to be 100%, and we are referring other peaks with respect to this peak. If this is 100, and this may be 91% from this peak, and this may be 90% from this, and this may be 85% from this peak. This is how the intensity is calculated, and therefore this percentage is not the real abundance or the natural abundance, and it is relative abundance. Why it is relative? All these abundance or the percentage or the intensity is calculated with respect to the tallest peak, which we call it as a base peak. We take that as a reference point. That's why it is called as relative abundance, right? But therefore a mass spectra is recorded between m by z value and relative abundance, right? This is a mass spectrum. You will get lines. The line intensity says the number of the intensity, the more number of, if more number of fragments enter, has that m by z value, that intensity will increase. If it is less, then intensity will decrease. This is the mass spectrum. Now, what we are going to do with the mass spectrum? We are going to analyze the peaks. That's what we are going to do. What are the peaks we are going to analyze? We are going to consider molecular ion peak. That is the most important part of mass spectra. Molecular ion peak, because that molecular ion peak gives you the molecular weight of the compound. And here we have to be very careful to misinterpret with the isotopic peaks, that we will discuss later. And other peak we are going to see the base peak, that I have explained earlier, that the tallest peak. that peak means that that fragment is the stablest fragment of the molecule, and therefore we will also consider that peak. For that purpose, for the other purpose, we also look into that base peak, right? Then we will study if there is a presence of isotopes by looking at the isotopic peak, right? And then what is the fragmentation pattern? This is what we will be seeing, studying by looking at the mass spectra. When you see a mass spectra, you have to look for this information. That's enough. This is how we are going to just see what is a molecular ion peak. The molecular ion peak is the highest M by Z value peak in the spectrum. If you see the last peak in the mass spectra is called the molecular ion peak. That M by Z value, what is the M by Z value of that peak, will directly give you the molecular weight of the compound. How? Because as I already said, all the charge, the M is mass where Z is charge, right? We have seen in the introduction that all the fragmented ions is not entering the detector. Only the fragments with a unipositive ion enter the detector, and therefore Z becomes 1. When Z becomes 1, then mass, and therefore the M by Z value of the highest M by Z value among the peaks is the molecular weight of the compound. That is called as a molecular ion peak. There is another name for this. This is also called as parent ion peak, right? And while studying that highest M by Z value, do not get confused with the isotopic peak, right? When you study the molecular ion peak, the isotopes will occur at even at a higher value than the molecular ion peak itself, and therefore you should not get confused with that. We will have some example how to avoid isotopic peaks. By seeing isotopic pattern, we can find out which is molecular ion peak, which is isotopic peak. The isotopic peak will be higher than molecular ion peak. That's why they are called as M plus 1 peaks or M plus 2 peaks are there, where M is called molecular ion peak and plus 1 and plus 2 is called the isotopic peaks, right? And do not take fragments as molecular ion peaks. What I mean here is, some molecule, if they decompose, if the molecule is less stable, in the mass spectrum there won't be any molecular ion peak at all, and therefore you will get only the peaks of fragments. But there is a possibility that you will misunderstood, that you will take that mass spectra and you will study the highest peak and you will finalize or conclude that that is a molecular ion peak, which may not be right. That's why I said you have to choose a correct method for studying the mass spectra. Then because there is a possibility of missing the molecular ion peak and misinterpreting the fragment as molecular ion peak. These are also possible, and therefore we must be very careful in recording, in choosing the technique, right? These are all important factors. And check with the softer techniques. That's what I said. If molecular ion peak is missing, check with the softer techniques so that you can get a molecular ion peak, right? If softer technique and electron impact both gives the same spectra, then that would be the molecule is stable, it is not fragmenting that much, right? You can come to that conclusion, right? For example, you can take to what is a molecular ion peak. You can see here it is a molecular ion peak because this molecule is N-pentane. It is the molecular weight is 86. You can see peak at 86. This is called molecular ion peak. You may also see a small peak here, but which is not at all visible, but it is very, very small, negligible amount. You should not consider 87 as molecular ion peak. They are isotopic peak, M+1 peak. It is isotopic peak. It is due to the carbon-13. It is due to carbon-13. There is a formula to calculate how much intensity, but we are not going in detail about that. But kindly avoid studying the isotopic peak or interpreting the isotopic peak as molecular ion peak. This is molecular ion peak and this is isotopic peak, right? And therefore, when you study a mass spectra, you study only some prominent peaks. Do not study this type of small peaks that will lead into confusions, right? This is how, therefore, there are several peaks here, but this peak is called as a molecular ion peak because that has a value 86. And the highest value is this, and therefore that is molecular ion peak. And therefore the molecular weight of the compound is 86. Straight away we get it, right? There is no confusion about that. And you can see here this is the molecular weight of the compound. This is the molecular weight. And you also forget about this. This is the 92 is the molecular weight, and this is the isotopic peak arise due to the presence of carbon-13, right? There are carbon-13 available, and therefore, and those peaks will be available. If the intensity is too high, similarly, this isotopic peak also will get little higher, right? And therefore, leave this peak, this is isotopic peak, and therefore, this is the molecular ion peak, right? Leave any small peaks, right? This is how you have to study the molecular ion peak and straight away, right? This is another example where the molecular ion is missing. You can see here actually the molecular, this is 2-propanol, the molecular weight has to be 60, but there is no peak at all here. There is a small peak here, but there is no peak at all. And therefore, because the molecule is decomposing at higher temperature, no molecule reaches there is no formation of molecular ion. Only formation of fragment ions are possible, especially this fragment is formed very much, and therefore we had this prominent peak for 2-propanol and we are missing. And therefore, you must be very careful. You should not consider this as 59 or something, this as molecular ion or molecular weight, or you should not misinterpret the molecular weight as here 42, 45. No. The molecular weight is not 45, actually the molecular weight is 60. What I would like to say is for this molecule, electron impact is not working. You have to go for softer technique or some other technique to find out the molecular weight, right? You must be very careful in finding the molecular ion peak. Next, we shall see the base peak. Why we have to study base peak? And what is a base peak first? The base peak is the highest peak, that means the tallest peak in the spectrum among the peaks. And the tallest peak is taken and it is assigned 100%. It is assigned 100%. I am repeating it. It is assigned 100%, and therefore it is called as a relative abundance. Related to that peak, other peaks are estimated. Other peaks' intensities are estimated with respect to that peak. Therefore, it is the peak with 100% relative abundance is called the base peak. What information you can get from base peak? That means that fragment is the most stable fragment of the molecule. That is the information you are getting. If the molecular ion peak is the tallest peak, that is also another possibility. The molecular ion itself will be the tallest peak. In that case, molecular ion peak and the base peak are the same. A single peak can get two designation, that is molecular ion peak and base peak. If the base peak is, in that case, the molecule itself more stable and it is resistant towards fragmentation even at a higher electron impact, around 70 electron volt. This is what we can infer from base peak, and the base peak is also used for studying the fragmentation pattern. We don't study peaks below base peak sometimes because below base peak we get fragments. The peaks are due to fragments of fragments, which will not give any useful information for the molecular structure. Up to base peak you will get fragments of molecule, right? Fragments of molecule. But below base peak there is a much possibility for fragments getting fragmented again, and that smaller peaks we don't study those peaks, and therefore for that reference also sometimes we use the base peak, right? You can see here these are all these are all fragments of fragments. This is the most stable peak. This is the most stable peak, and we take it as this is the base peak of this molecule. And as far as this molecule is concerned, this is the only prominent peak in this. And there is some other peaks are here. Any peak less than base peak is considered as not necessarily to be true, but it's not considered because it may be due to the fragments of fragments, and that's why we don't consider. The only peak is the base peak in this example. Let us see this example here. Almost the molecular ion peak is only with the loss of one hydrogen, 1. Here 92 is the molecular weight, but 91 is the base peak. That means the molecule is stable and it is restrictive towards fragmentation. You can see some fragments here by the loss of, right? And therefore the tallest peak you can see that touches 100%. Yeah, that 100% peak, that is called as the base peak. The molecular ion peak also somewhat closer to the base peak, and therefore we can conclude that the molecule is the stablest molecule. Why this molecule is stable? And because of formation of tropylium ion, especially in this case because this is an aromatic system. Tropylium ion is aromatic, and it is most stable fragment. The fragmenting this molecule is little difficult, and that's why this molecule 91, this fragment actually it rearranges to get this structure. This structure is called as a tropylium ion. This ion is called as tropylium ion. The tropylium ion is very stable. That's why you get the peak at here. But the stability of the fragment is directly inferred by the intensity of the peak, right? But all other things, these are all fragmentation pattern given for this molecule toluene. Fragmentation pattern, we will study that later, right? Next what peak we are going to study in a mass spectra? We have to study isotopic peak. How to check for the presence of isotopes, and especially for chlorine and bromine are the isotopes. These elements could not be studied by any other method, any other spectroscopic method. No spectroscopic method will give you information about this chlorine, bromine, iodine like that. No spectroscopy. Only mass spectroscopy can say you whether the compound contains chlorine or not. The element analysis, the detection of elements, there itself you can find out whether the molecule contains chlorine or not. If the molecule is contain chlorine, then you have to check for isotopic peak, right? In the previous class we explained the detection of elements, nitrogen by the Lessing test, remember, right? If you get in presence of nitrogen, chlorine there, bromine there, then you must remember to check the mass spectra for their presence, right? The chlorine, if there is, this is isotopic peak, and there is a pattern by which you can identify the presence of chlorine. The intensity of peak, this is chlorine 35 and this is due to chlorine 37. The natural abundance of chlorine 35 and chlorine 37 is 3:1, where the chlorine 35 is 3 times, whereas chlorine 37 is one time. That is 1:3:1 ratio. The same ratio will be reflected here. Right? This is 3:1. Here also 3:1 peak. Right? The pattern you can see here. That is the two m and m plus 2 with two difference. That is 78 and 80. The actual molecular weight of this compound, if you calculate based on chlorine 35, the molecular weight will be 78. If you calculate the molecular weight of the compound using chlorine 37, then the molecular weight would be 80. And this type of pattern, if you observe here also you can see the same pattern. This is an indication for the presence of chlorine. If there are two chlorine, there will be a different pattern. You will get because combination of chlorine 35, chlorine 35, 37 and combination of chlorine 37. These combinations are possible if that type of combination, and therefore you will get M peak. This is actually the molecular ion peak, and this is M plus 2 isotopic peak, and this is M plus 4 isotopic peak because of the presence of two chlorine atoms. Right? Two chlorine atoms, therefore 2 mass, and therefore it can go up to 4 plus. Right? This is how we study the isotopic peak. Isotopic pattern will say about the presence of isotopes, especially chlorine and bromine. Right? We have seen chlorine. What about bromine? If you see bromine, you will get peak like this. The two peaks, molecular ion, this is molecular ion peak, this is isotopic peak. Isotopic peak not necessarily to be small, it may also equal, right? You have to remember. Because bromine naturally contains two bromines, that is bromine 79 and bromine 81. Right? These two bromine are equal in abundance. If you take 100 molecule of bromine, there will be 51 bromine 79 and 49 bromines 81, and therefore almost 50-50. Therefore, the same intensity ratio you can see 50-50, almost close to here, and therefore this indicates the presence of bromine. There is no other spectroscopic method that can give you the presence of bromine directly. Maybe you can indirectly infer, but directly no spectrum gives. Here, by seeing the isotopic pattern, you can very well confirm the presence of bromine. You can see here the presence of bromine. Here also bromine present. Here also bromine present. That means up to this, the molecule, the bromine have not fragmented. And from here that bromine is fragmented and gone away, and therefore you get a large gap. Around 79 to 80 you will get the difference. Right? This is how you can study the presence of bromine. Presence of bromine can also be found by Lessein's test, but spectra as far as spectra is concerned, only mass spectra can give you. Right? What about if two bromine is present? Here you can see this type of pattern. Bromine 79 couple to get one. But we don't get a prominent peak here because this molecule is less stable and this is base peak. Right? Here also, here you can study one thing. Here the pattern is different. That means presence of two bromine. Here one bromine is eliminated and you get the 50-50 peak. Right? Almost 51-49. Right? This is an indication that one bromine is eliminated, fragmented to get this type of peak. Right? Now here this peak says it contains two bromine, and this peak says this fragment contains only one bromine. That means one bromine is fragmented here between these two peaks. Right? This is how we study isotopic peak. Right? We have studied molecular ion peak, base peak and isotopic peak. Finally, what we will see by seeing the mass spectrum, what we have to concentrate on the fragmentation pattern. This is if you are not doing this, no problem. Other spectroscopic technique will say the details, but you can also study the fragmentation pattern of the molecule to get useful information about the structure. What is the fragmentation pattern? The difference between adjacent peak is a pattern. You can get some information about that. And the difference from the molecular ion peak, each peak, what is the difference from the molecular ion peak, and what is the base peak? All these constitute the fragmentation pattern of the molecule. By studying the fragmentation pattern, because alcohols will follow one pattern, hydrocarbons follow one pattern, ketones follow, because by studying the pattern we can get some guesses. These are all not direct information, we derive some conclusion based on this, right? These are all some guessing we can able to make. And similarly, McLafferty rearrangement, we get a pattern. By studying fragmentation pattern, we get some structural information. Usually we don't consider mass spectra for structural information, but if you study carefully or in depth the mass spectra, you can also get some structural information by studying the pattern by which the fragmentation occur, right? Then for example, you can see here, this is the mass spectrum of dodecane, but starting from here, you have to see here the 170 is the molecular weight of the compound, and therefore you get a molecular ion peak at 170. And if you go one by one, the difference between the peak will be usually 14. The difference between each peak is 14, because the loss of every CH2, and therefore a long chain hydrocarbon will give you this kind of pattern. The difference between every peak, adjacent peaks, will always be 14. If you come across any such of, you can guess it is a long chain hydrocarbon. That is a possibility, right? Right, and the long chain, when the chain increases, the molecular ion peak decreases. The stability of the molecule decreases, and therefore the molecular ion peak will also decrease. For smaller molecules, the molecular ion will be somewhat prominent, right? But when the chain length increases, the molecular ion peak decreases, right? You can study that. This is one information. You can see, if you want to study an alcohol, there is a specific, you can see an M-18 peak for the loss of water molecule, and you can see an M-33 by loss of CH2OH. These are all some prominent peak. And one more thing is, alcohols usually give very less, especially aliphatic alcohols, aliphatic primary alcohols or secondary alcohols, they give very low abundant mass spectra, right? And the abundance is very less. That means the molecule is less stable. That is one of the characteristic of aliphatic alcohols. You can also see here as a secondary alcohol, the molecular ion peak is missing here, but you get an M-18 peak, M-33 peak, all those peaks you are getting. These are all some identification for alcohol, right? And if you consider an aldehyde can also cleave like this, and alpha cleavage is possible. You will get this type of, right? This is called as actually McLafferty rearrangement, M-29 peak. The M by is at 29, and this type of this fragment can also give a peak. These are all some identification. You can see here also you are missing an molecular ion, but you are getting a M-28 peak. This peak gives information about McLafferty rearrangement. there is a M44 peak and M-28 peak. This gives McLafferty, that means McLafferty rearrangement has taken place in this molecule, and there is an M-18 peak here. This M-18 peak, the loss of water molecule, says here. These are all evidence for the presence of aldehyde. Similarly, you can study and aromatic aldehyde. You can see here we are missing a molecular ion peak, but you can see the molecular ion peak here very most of it, since it is an aromatic compound. An aromatic compound is restrictive towards fragmentation, and therefore you will get a very prominent molecular ion peak. These are all some information you get from mass spectra. Structural information also possible. That's what I would like to say, that you have to carefully study for structural information. We have said a McLafferty rearrangement. That is another important point in the mass spectra. This is a mechanism where the compound either a carbonyl or an alkene which has a gamma hydrogen. This is gamma hydrogen. If this is alpha, beta, this is a functional group, this is alpha carbon, this is beta carbon, this is gamma carbon. Whenever there is a hydrogen in gamma carbon, in that case, this kind of rearrangement is possible. This rearrangement can be detected in mass spectra. That is the beauty. That's why we are studying about McLafferty rearrangement. This rearrangement can be easily identified in a mass spectra. As I have already told you, there is an M-28 peak because there is a carbonyl, and this is alpha carbon, this is beta, and this is gamma carbon. There is a hydrogen here, and therefore this molecule can undergo McLafferty rearrangement, and therefore you see there is an M-28 peak and M-44 peak and a base peak at 44. These informations give that there is this peak actually gives information about the McLafferty rearrangement that have taken place in the molecule. When there is a McLafferty rearrangement, you can think of a carbonyl group with a gamma hydrogen. You have to think of a structure like that. That's why that much useful, right? And that M-28 peak is due to this loss of this ethylene molecule. That peak at 44 is due to this fragment. This usually you get from a McLafferty rearrangement, and therefore presence of these two prominent peaks will say about the McLafferty rearrangement, and therefore you can think of this type of structure when you get McLafferty rearrangement, right? You can also study for several molecules like this. There are fragmentation pattern for ketone, acid, amide, amine. I think we don't have enough time. We have to see all these things because I have given light about that, and therefore I ask you to study by yourself the fragmentation pattern, acid, amide, amine. You take this as a homework or give me during the quiz what is the fragmentation pattern for ketone, acid, amide, amine, all these things, right? We will ask some question regarding that, where you have to give what is the pattern you observe for ketone, right? That you take it as a homework because of the short of time, right? What about the bigger molecules? Smaller molecules we are studying, right? The molecular ion peak, fragment between, we have to deduce all those things. But bigger molecule, this is the mass spectrum of a reserpine, an alkaloid, right? Big molecules. You get mass spectrum like this, several peaks. In that case, you take some prominent peaks and you study the molecular weight. You can see here more than 600. You can see here. Study the molecular weight and the difference between the fragments and study the base peak. That's enough. And you need not study anything below base peak because they are fragments of fragments, right? That's enough to study for the big molecules. And you can also see here, this is the fragmentation pattern is explained for a peptide, human peptide. You can see here there is 1500 above molecular weight, and lots of different fragments are explained here. This is how scientists actually work. But why I am saying this is, when you study the mass spectra before you don't know anything about the structure of the molecule, you cannot do all those things. You need not do. You just study the molecular weight and base peak, that's enough. But when you confirm using all other technique, when you confirm the structure of the molecule, then you have to explain the mass spectrum using that structure. Then only your structure would be fine. Then right. The next thing is, as we have studied, the molecular formula can be calculated in different ways using mass spectra details. One thing we have seen already from empirical formula that we have studied in the previous class, from empirical formula and multiplied by an integer, that integer for that purpose we need a molecular weight, right? That we know, molecular weight divided by all those things. For that purpose, you can take molecular weight from mass spectra and calculate the molecular formula. The second method is, we can also get, but in the first method we get accurate molecular formula. But in the second method, we can also guess some molecular formulas. If you have done some analysis by recording mass spectra and element analysis, keeping these two in mind, you can guess some molecular formula, and you can guess some double bonds or number of rings present in the molecule. All this calculation you can able to make. That is also another way by which you can calculate a molecular formula, guess molecular formula. I would not say it is calculation, but guessing some acceptable molecular formula. For that there are two rules, rule of 13 and a nitrogen rule. From that you get a molecular formula. From there we can also calculate a double bond equivalent. I will say about that later, or ring equivalent. The double bond equivalent value, it is a calculation which says the number of double bonds present in the molecule, or number of unsaturation present in the molecule, or number of rings present in the molecule. It is a calculation based on molecular formula, right? Let us see what is the rule of 13. The rule of 13, the molecular weight, the rule of 13 says, take the molecular weight from mass spectra and divide it by the number 13, and you will get a number. That number is equal to number of CH present in the molecule. If there is any remainder over that number, for example 6.3, that means there are 6 CH and you have to add 3 more, and you have to do some calculation to add more hydrogen. This is how molecular formula is calculated. In case the molecule contains oxygen, then you have to subtract 16 for oxygen. For subtracting 16, then you have to, from the calculation, from the first step calculation, you have to subtract CH4, that is equivalent to oxygen, and from that formula, and so on. If there is 2 oxygen, and correspondingly you can deduce or reduce some of the CH4 unit or CH2 unit for nitrogen, something like that. You can deduce a molecular formula. The presence of nitrogen you can test in a Lessing test. If your molecule gives Lessing test positive for nitrogen, and you get a molecular weight here, and you can work out a rule of 13 to approximately derive an acceptable molecular formula, right? This is how this molecular formula, as I said, it is not the correct molecular formula, exact molecular formula. It gives an idea which is an acceptable molecular formula, a possible acceptable molecular formula. This is, but using that you can calculate a ring equivalent. You can rely on this. The number of double bonds the molecular formula give, you can rely on this data, or number of rings. You can, to some extent, to high degree, you can rely on this data. That's why That's why this molecular formula will be used. Let us see this rule of 13, an example. For example, if you get a molecule with a molecular weight of 74.121, if you divide that by 13, you get 5.7. And therefore, I take 5 as a number, and therefore, I consider CH. So, therefore, there are 5C, 5H. If you calculate the molecular weight for this compound, it comes around 65. But the molecular weight says it is 74 something, and therefore remaining 9 from 65 is added as hydrogen. And therefore, from C5H5, I add 9 hydrogen to get C5H14. And I would like to check this formula with any of this formula, CnH2n plus 2, CnH2n minus 2, all these. If it is should exactly matches with this formula, then molecular formula, that is another that is acceptable. If doesn't suit any of these, that molecular formula is not acceptable. Here it doesn't suit, because if it is H2n plus 2, it must be C5H12. If it is CnH2n, then it has to be C5H10. If it is minus 2, then it has to be C5H2. It doesn't fall in any category, and therefore I am including one oxygen. I am trying to include one oxygen. If you want to include one oxygen, I have to remove a CH4 from this, and therefore I am removing one C and 4 hydrogen. I get this molecular formula, and I included one oxygen, C4H10O. Now this looks an acceptable molecular formula. From this acceptable molecular formula, I can derive a double bond equivalent, which is calculated by x minus y by 2 plus 1 is the formula. I forgot to include that formula here, otherwise I will explain in the next video, right? Where x is the number of carbon and y is the number of hydrogen. The oxygen number is neglected. We will take a session on double bond equivalent later, where from that formula you can get the number of double bonds present in the molecule, or the number of, that value will give you number of double bonds or a number of rings, or in other ways we can see the number of unsaturation present in the molecule, right? Let us consider nitrogen rule. What it says, it is simple. If the compound contains nitrogen, especially exclusively for this type of compounds where nitrogen is present, if nitrogen even mass has, if the mass number, molecular weight is even, that means it may not contain a nitrogen, or it contains even number of nitrogen atoms. Or if the mass is odd, the odd number, it contains odd number of nitrogen. There is a mistake here. It is nitrogen. It contains a odd number of nitrogen, and there are other things here that is very common. You can learn by any textbook. Then coming to the point interpretation, we have seen many things, but in the short time we could not explain all the details of mass spectra. I think I have enlightened you to, I thrown a light into the mass spectra, and therefore how we are going to interpret the mass spectra. Find out the molecular ion peak and find the molecular weight, number 1. Number 2, try to deduce a molecular formula using rule of 13 and a nitrogen rule, and right, then find the presence of isotopes, right, and check for fragmentation pattern, for if you can able to guess whether it is alcohol, whether it is aromatic, whether it is ketone, like that. Can you able to do that? You try to do that, right, and write some guessing out of that. This is what an interpretation of mass spectra I am expecting you to do. As I said earlier, during the interpretation of mass spectra, you get no information except, no concrete information except very few. The isotope, you can get concrete information about isotope, you can get concrete information about molecular weight. All other things are some guesses, right? But when you have identified the molecule, by using different spectroscopic technique. Then you have to come back to mass spectra, and there every peak has to be explained why. There it will 100% match. There is no question about it. Before knowing molecular formula, we may not explain each peak, but after knowing the molecular formula or after knowing the structure of the compound, you must be able to explain each peak, at least the peaks above base peak. You must be able to explain, or the prominent peaks above half of the molecular weight. if the molecular weight is 200, you have to explain all the peaks above 100. Why it comes, what is the fragment of that peak, how it comes, which molecule fragmented, all those things you must be able to explain after you deduce the structure, right? Therefore, we conclude here, and therefore I would like to give some announcement about quiz and assignment. Answer the quiz by tomorrow. While answering the quiz, please make sure that you go through the video and study it properly. And because yesterday I found many people have not gone through the video and just answered, clicked any answer and went off, and they landed in very low mark in the sense even many people get 2 marks out of 10. They don't know how to answer, because in the video I explained that there may be more than one right answer, because I don't like people without any seriousness attending the quiz alone, clicking some other and winding off. That not the purpose of this workshop. And therefore that's why I have introduced multiple right answer. If you go through the video, there are more than 3-4 people who got 10 out of 10. Therefore, I appreciate those people because they have gone through the video. Only if you gone through the video fully, you can able to answer, or only you understood all the concept, then able to answer the quiz properly. I request all the participants, please seriously learn, because learning is the intention. That's why I kept the quiz like that. If otherwise a multiple choice is may be given, even if you without surfing or without going through the video, you can click any value and randomly some may get the right answer. That are possible, but here that is not possible. That's why. And in coming classes, because we are since we are started working out spectra, you have to write an interpretation about spectra. I will give also some mass spectra where you have to give interpretation based on the video, based on this video, right? Therefore, go through the video. I request all the participants to go through the video seriously and interpret the spectra that is given to you, right? I think do not rush through the quiz, take your time. And yesterday I give some option to re-attend the quiz where I happen to be very tough time for me, because many have attended the quiz without going through the video and got very low mark. I gave them another option to attend the quiz again. In order to monitor that, it took I took my time. That's why I could not able to prepare a video lesson for today. That's why it is got delayed. Therefore, from today onwards, I am not going to give that option. At least for today, I will give you an option to edit your quiz, but you will not see the answer, but I will give an option to edit for today. For today means for the tomorrow's quiz, and later that option I may not give. Please carefully go through the video and carefully attend the quiz, right? I think right in that quiz there will be quiz and assignment. I may give. And one more thing, please select your register number. Do not select others register number while answering the quiz. There are people who have done also that. And I will also couple the quiz and assignment together, or I will try to give in a separate. I will inform you later tomorrow. The assignment, in the assignment page, spectra will be given to you. Some mass spectra is given to you. Analyze the mass spectra and write an interpretation about that. I will assess that interpretation and give you mark based on your assessment, how effectively you interpreted the mass spectra, right? What interpretation you need to write? Write about the molecular weight. Check for isotope, presence of isotopes. This molecule contains these isotopes. You can also check for the pattern and find the molecule contains 2 chlorine or 2 bromine or 1 chlorine, 1 bromine. It contains no isotope. You can write, right? And prediction based on rule of 13. You can also take the molecular weight and divide by 13 and calculate a molecular formula. If you want to include oxygen, try to include nitrogen. All this nitrogen rule follow. All this write interpretation about that. You can also write an interpretation about fragmentation pattern. You just write what type of peak you get, M-18, M-44, M-13, M-28 peak you can able to get, right? Based on that, if you could able to get some information, I think this molecule would be alcohol, or there is a presence of M-18 peak, therefore there is a possibility of this compound to be alcohol, or there is an M-28 peak, or that peak, this peak, there is a microfiltratory reagent possible, therefore it may be a ketone or aldehyde. Like that, you try to make some predictions of the mass spectra. The effective, how effectively you write, the mark will be given how effectively you predict the molecule. If anybody is close to the exact molecule, I will give full mark for that. Okay, I think with this we finish. All the best, all the best. Thank you very much.